Right, so Rishi Sunak, you knew I was coming onto this today. He just gave the career-ending speech to end all careers, surely. Already languishing in double figures behind Labour in the polls, he decided to give a speech that showed without doubt just how desperately bad things have become since his comms director left. Literally standing up and banning stuff that was never government policy. Might have only been a consultation at one point in some kind of a mad Columbian marching powder-induced brainstorming session maybe, but which made Sunak sound just utterly deranged and his desperate, look what I've done, shtick. I won't make you have 7 bins, so I scrapped that. I don't believe in a meat tax, so I scrapped that too. Those inflections were just maddening, but not half as mad as what he was actually talking about. 7 Bins Sunak. That's what he'll be known for from now until the end of time. 7 Bins Sunak. So congratulations, Rishi. You finally did something memorable. A ban on having 7 bins. The 7 deadly bins even. I thought I'd seen it all when you Tories started ripping off the Green Party with your suddenly no longer blue election materials. But who knew Count Binface was going to be an inspiration for you as well? Putting 7 bins out each week. Can you imagine the dust carts? They'll have to become the size of monster trucks, won't they? Or is it a case of every night will suddenly become bin night, as we have one for every day of the week? Craig David could do a rewrite of his song 7 Days. He could call it 7 Bin Days. We could bin a Tory on Monday, then another one on Tuesday. We could bin another on Wednesday, and on Thursday, Friday and Saturday, and bin another one on Sunday. Sounds like a plan to me. Binning Tories. How about a ban on the meat tax? Who knew about the meat tax? Banning the meat tax. Stealthy vegetarian wokerati at work, I suppose that was. I'm quite glad he's been this made-up Tory policy, if I'm honest. I thought to myself, enforced veganism was on the cards. The cost of living crisis would put meat out of our reach. You could get fined in the street for thinking about pork. Chicken nugget dealers would be springing up on street corners across the country. Turkey Twizzlers would become a Class C drug. A ban on taxes to discourage flying. Well, he came up with that nugget as well. Well, that was blatantly self-serving, wasn't it, given Sunak takes private jets like we catch taxis? He took 23 private flights over a period of 187 days, including one trip from London to Blackpool on a 14-seat RAF jet when it was only a 3-hour train trip. A ban on compulsory car sharing, he said. Well, he's banning James Corden from our TVs as a consequence, and I'm all for that one. I'm joking, obviously, but still, ban James Corden. It makes as much sense as anything else Sunak came out with. Then there's the banning of expensive insulation upgrades he came out with, because those poor, broke, starving, struggling energy companies, they might see a dent in their measly profits, I suppose. I mean, when he's come out with a litany of absolute batshittery as this is, it does make you wonder what could be in the next Tory manifesto, doesn't it? How much further could he go? What else is he going to promise to try and get back into power again? A ban on monsters hiding under the bed, maybe. Santa Claus now being required to take a pilot's test licence. A tax on hamsters, maybe. A ban on side partings. You'll need a new haircut yourself there, Rishi, but I'm sure you'll levy a tax to pay for that on Baldy's beautiful head polish. Well, that's just discrimination against we the follically challenged, isn't it? Will he announce a cancellation of a new, not really being proposed, but we'll claim it anyway, Velcro tax? How will you offset that one then? Well, we'll fine young mums for having messy buns. Tooth fairy tax avoidance will be clamped down on by HMRC. And we're going to force all pound shops to rename themselves £1.50 stores. Oh, and by the way, you don't need those recycling bags of yours anymore. Not now you've got 7 bins you haven't got room for. You can wear them, reduce, reuse, recycle and all that. They'll make a lovely jacket, very bright. You won't be knocked down at night wearing one of those, will you? Honestly, if he'd actually achieved anything in his first year of power, he wouldn't need to do a speech this daft, so hastily rushed and put together. And actually that belies the truth of the whole thing, because it very much looks like Rishi Sunak is running scared of Liz the Lettuce Truss. She gave a speech the other day, which was itself completely bonkers. But a lot of what Sunak also said in his even more ridiculous speech was to offset much of what Truss said she wanted. Now, she wanted petrol and diesel cars to stay for longer, so Sunak has pushed back banning them until 2035. Truss wanted oil and gas boilers to stay. Well, those boilers now will remain until 2035 as well. And who can forget the fact those oil and gas licences are staying as well, conveniently being applied for by the likes of BP and Shell, who have IT contracts with Infosys, who, if you remember, are the family firm of Rishi Sunak's wife. So again, he's on the take there for himself. Truss is still pushing him in the aftermath of these announcements, however, as pleased as she was with the madness he spouted. to drop the windfall tax on energy companies and bring back fracking. So watch this space for further watering down of what will deliver net zero in this country if Rishi Sunak fears he's in any danger of his own position. The claim it'll still be reached by 2050, of course, is a farce. And frankly, knowing that Sunak doesn't care one iota about the environment, even before he made this mad speech, he can quote 2050 all he likes, because he'll be gone long before that target is failed, and it won't be his problem when the world burns for the next generation. Needless to say, the message he conveyed last night was badly received, to put it politely, not just by the public, but by politicians across the board and across the world. A snap poll by Channel 4 showed that 40.7%, that's 40.7% of respondents were now less likely to vote Tory after that speech on watering down net zero commitments, which, given he's already miles behind Labour in the polls, now means that the Tory party must be verging on extinction-level damage. One reason to celebrate? Absolutely, for sure. But not so much when you realise there's Keir I Hate Tree Huggers Starmer waiting in the wings to carry on where he's left off. Zach Goldsmith, who recently quit as the International Environment Minister on the basis Sunak doesn't care about the environment at all, and he said so in his resignation letter, is demanding a general election now. So dangerous as he considers Sunak, a Tory is literally calling for an election he knows his party's bound to lose. Boris Johnson has laid into Sunak as well, and for once, pertinently, as it's been pointed out that the only mandate Sunak actually has is the one Boris Johnson himself won in 2019, which had in it a commitment to achieve net zero by 2050 with investment in clean energy solutions and green infrastructure, which Sunak has decided to tear up. He has no mandate to do that. Literally, nobody has elected a party led by him to do that. Not even his own party membership elected him to be leader of their own party. And that does not sit well with voters either. He lacks legitimacy, big time, and is, and of himself, a real danger now to his own party. Even before this speech, his approval ratings were down as low as Johnson's were towards the end of his tenure. There is already talk of letters of no confidence going in on Sunak to the 1922 committee before this speech, with Sunak's one-year grace period expiring next month. So will he be triggered straight after Tory party conference now? Well, it looks decidedly more likely. It's certainly not something I'd bet against. Internationally, people have spoken out against him as well. Al Gore. Al Gore, do you remember Al Gore? Remember him? He's waded in and expressed his shock and disappointment that Sunak has done the wrong thing. That young people feel like they've been stabbed in the back, and even Tories have apparently told him they feel utterly disgusted with what Sunak has done. He also notably pointed to the fossil fuel companies who use their wealth to slow things down when it comes to net zero and the green agenda. And when Sunak is linked via his family's financial links to the fossil fuel industry, via Infosys, as I've already mentioned, it's even more than that when it comes to him. At the end of the day, the serious note here is that Rishi Sunak is so anti-green agenda, so anti-environment, he felt he had to make a load of policies up that do not exist in order to pretend he'd scrapped them in order to look more green than he actually is. Because although he couldn't give less of a damn about climate change, he knows the British public do. Yet he's taking each and every one of us for fools over it. Because he cannot relate to us whatsoever, and he just thinks he's cleverer than we are. He is a dangerous, greed-driven, out-of-touch idiot. An absolute threat to the world, when this issue cannot and must not be ignored, and needs to be dealt with properly and here and now. He stood there and lied through his teeth that we're on target for net zero because he couldn't care less if we are or not, and already we're not, and even less so after this. He spoke of a brighter future for the next generation when he's basically upturned 7 bins of trash all over that promise. If we keep kicking this can down the road, it's only going to cost more to rectify it all in the long term. Changes become necessary harder and faster, so if he's moaning about cost and effort now, politicians like him further down the road, they're going to be moaning even more about it. The Tories faced an emphatic general election defeat before he made this speech. They'll be lucky to have anyone left after this, because Rishi Sunak has basically told us in the maddest, most dishonest way possible that none of us can afford to have him re-elected. None of us can afford to vote Tory, not if we still want a planet to live on. That kind of politics will be the end of us if we don't vote for a party that'll do what needs to be done now, before it costs us even more to change, or before it's too late at all, and we're done for. We need more Green Party MPs desperately now, because literally the next generation, if they're to have a world worth living in, depends on that now. Did you watch Sunak's speech? What did you make of it yourself? Were you going to vote Tory and change your mind now? Are you going Green because of this, or were you planning on voting Green anyway because we need that shift in our politics? Do let me know your views and opinions in the comments below. Have your say and be part of the conversation as always. And thank you very much for watching. I hope you found the video useful. Do like, share and subscribe if you did. More content out daily. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation where Liz Truss seems to be the driver of Sunak's hurried and rushed madness here. Fearing her faction will undermine him, perhaps. Is that what all this is about? Is it about Sunak consolidating power for himself and blow to the planet in his pursuit of that? But the trouble is, by offsetting her speech here, Sunak is basically also putting her back in charge of the country again. Surely that's madder than anything that he actually said in his speech yesterday. I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.